Hi, I'm Mike Paul. I'm a health and fitness coach working out of Brighton and soon to be Newcastle as well. I've been in and out of the industry for 20 odd years, but it's really the last 5 years that have made a massive impact on the way I perceive health and fitness. 5 years ago I was diagnosed with cancer. A year later I herniated a lumbar disc. Those two events in my life have massively impacted on the way I now train myself and my clients. When I first got cancer and I started researching it, I found out a lot of stuff which I didn't know, even in my job as a fitness trainer. Some of this stuff was quite shocking and ran counter to everything I'd been taught. Since then I've also done exceedingly well against doctors' expectations. I had to refuse some of my treatment and I took an alternative route for some of my own treatment. I'm here tonight really to tell people about what I've done, the experiences I had with the medical system, with cancer, and hopefully to take away the fear that cancer leads to inevitable death. For me, as you can see, I'm doing very well at the moment and I hope to lead a long and healthy life now, and there's plenty of stuff we can do now to help ourselves, whether we're ill with cancer or other degenerative diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, that sort of stuff, but also to stop ourselves from getting these diseases in the first place. And that's really my aim, is to get people to thinking about their own health, taking responsibility for it. Hello, thank you very much everybody for coming. I had a similar talk to this last year and swore that I was going to carry on spreading the good word. I hope you think it's the good word, but then I didn't for nearly 16 months now. So Dave, talking to me in the bar at the squash club one night, said, "Mike, why aren't you cracking on?" So I'd like to say thanks to Dave for kicking my butt into gear on this, and thank you guys very much for coming along. I hope what I have to say is of interest to you and actually is of use to you. I hazard a guess the fact that you're here shows that you're interested in your health already, and hopefully you'll get a little bit more interest from this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Paul. You obviously got a little snapshot from the flyer, or if you came across the Facebook promo. I've been in health and fitness for around about 20 odd years. So I started in the early 90s, had a break in 2000 and moved into another job, and then came back in 2010. It's really the last 5 years that have influenced my way of thinking, what I believe we should be doing for health and fitness, and that what we're being told isn't necessarily right. Certainly not right for everybody. Okay, so we've got a few controversies to bring out there. Also, my opinion on the current medical model, where I think that's going wrong, and what I think we should be doing about it, and basically how I've done things and what I'm doing now, and how I'm continually evolving my approach and the approach for my clients. Okay, so I'm going to start this when the first signs of my cancer came along. In 2008 I was working for a small IT company, but we were based in Northern Rock. So I was a computer programmer cum business analyst, working on a debt management project for 3 years, which is not really the nicest thing to have to be doing. But to be fair, I actually really enjoyed the job. The 2007 crash came along, all the outside parties got booted out. Luckily my boss could still keep me on and ended up working from home. Had a little study at the front of the house, for those of you who know Brighton, just looking out onto Grange Road, looking out the window so I can see people up and down. So, on a conference call with some people I was working with, I started getting this really bad headache, and it was like felt like a tension headache up the back of my head. And I had a few of these, but this one was getting really distracting. I basically had to tell the guys, look, sorry guys, I'm not up to this, and then phone my boss to say sorry boss, can't work today, I've got a headache. Many of you will know what it's like. So when you say you've got a headache, nobody can see it, nobody can hear it, nobody can feel it. So you feel a bit fraudulent and you think, what's this all about? Within the next hour, the weirdest thing happened. I was looking outside and there's a telegraph pole on the other side of the road, and I saw two. I think I closed my eyes open again, and there were two. There were distinct two poles, and I closed one eye and it was back to one. I think that's not right. This is more than just a headache. Frantically walking backwards and forwards between the two bedrooms, the upstairs study and the bedroom. The gap between these poles was getting bigger and bigger each time I moved from window to window, and I'm thinking, excuse my French, what's going on here? I phoned Michelle, who was at work, and said, Michelle, I think you need to come home, something's not right. Got onto NHS Direct and a few other sources, so I googled bad headaches and double vision. Well, you know what the internet's like, it's one of those big two-edged swords. You can get all sorts of rubbish out there, but you can actually also get some very good stuff on there. Lots of things in the list, quite severe conditions. The advice on, I think it was on NHS Direct and WebMD, was contact your doctor straight away. Okay, so got Michelle to come back. At the bottom of the list was brain tumour. Okay, so that was the first hint. I was thinking something's not quite right. Anyway, we head over to the GP. Luckily there was an emergency appointment available, and got in there, did some testing, you know, how you doing, what's the matter, explained the headaches, explained the double vision, mentioned that as a teenager I had some stress headaches previously, but this was nothing like that. It was totally different. So he did some tests on my vision, had a look into my eyes, did some basic neurological testing, and said, nope, you're fine, it's just stress. Okay, you've explained your position with Northern Rock, obviously that's very stressful for you. And I'm thinking, hey ho, working from home, stressful, you've got to be joking. And you know, people who know me will tell you that I'm not really the most stressed out person in the world. So this is one of the first points for me, is, you know, whenever I've been to the doctors, I have actually had a serious complaint, and it was for me, it was not good that he was just, nah, it's just stress, not listening to me as I felt. He goes, no, you're fine, just take these. I think it was Migraleave, which was paracetamol and codeine. You'll be fine. You mentioned you're going on holiday. Just go on holiday, it'll be fine for you. I said, it's a mountain biking holiday. I've got double vision. Right, which path? And he looked at us and said, you don't look convinced. Is there anything else on your minds? And well, both Michelle and I, having read the NHS Direct, but also having known a few people in our recent past, this was back in 2009, that we were having, 2008 we were having this. We're talking about brain tumours, it said so on the Direct site. No, brain tumours are exceedingly rare. Well, I could name 4 or 5 people just from my squash club alone that we knew of at the time had brain tumours, another 2 from the triathlon club. Michelle's uncle at that time had a brain tumour, so I'm thinking that's not very rare. Okay, and I said, no, it's fine. We can see tumours behind the eye. You know, if you had a tumour, if it was because of your double vision, it would generally be behind the eye. We see it, you'll be fine. Go away, go on holiday. So away I went. Next morning, woke up, double vision still there. Pain had gone, pills did the job. So we thought, nah, can't do this. Cancelled the holiday, went off to A&E. Stood there, A&E, handful of pills, you're not seeing anyone until you've had these. Okay, I've already taken what they've said the prescribed dose is. I've taken the maximum. It's later. Just take these, a few more, won't you? Blah, blah. So I've got all of those. And then about an hour or 2 later, we got to see somebody. And they basically ran the stress line again. So go away, don't worry about it. The headaches will go, the double vision will go. Once they did say, go and see the optician. it might be something to do with your eyesight. Off to the optician I went, because I still wasn't buying stress. Optician tested my eyes, vision really good, other than the obvious double vision going on. I still always joke that I could see better with double vision than Michelle could see with her glasses, and to this day that holds true. Sorry to rub that in, but the optician did say, I don't think this runs true to what I've seen before in stress. I think you should go to the eye hospital. So off we went, straight to the eye hospital, and sat there. Got a young enthusiastic doctor, getting loads of tests, and he caught me squinting at him, and I was like doing this to him. So I was like, the reason I was doing that, it's the only way I could get my double vision back into single vision, so I would look like that. And he said, you know what I think's happened? I think you've had double vision since birth. I think if you go back and look through your photos, you'll see yourself looking at the camera in the way you're looking at me now, and that your brain compensates for the double vision, and a stressful event has knocked that out. Right. At that moment I was close to walking out, because I'd never heard such a pile of bullshit in my life, to be honest. But I sat and listened, because it would be cool if it was stress actually, because I could have gone away and done something about that. But anyway, so they said glasses, pyramid glasses, if it doesn't go away, we'll sort you out, blah, blah, it's not a problem. You can go walking around with a prism of glass in front of your eyes like a Toblerone bar, you'll be fine. Okay. So we went away, dutifully took all my pills, and the pain was good, and to be fair, by the end of the week the vision started fading, so I was thinking maybe they were right after all. I was a bit too quick to jump on the backs. The vision got better and I got on with normal life. Over the next few months I got a few headaches, but the double vision didn't come back, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe it was stress. We did things, we put a blind up, we changed the lighting, changed the chair, all of these things that I'd looked up might have been an issue. But then Michelle was away with work and I was at home, and I got the worst headache I'd ever had. I literally downed a pack of codeine, a full pack, and it was like it didn't make one jot of difference to this headache. And I sat there, I can't remember for how long, I don't know what to do. I was literally just trying to get this pain out of my head. I was not far off calling 999. I don't really remember what happened, whether I fainted or whether I just fell asleep or whatever, but I didn't end up calling 999. Back to the doctors. It's just stress, there'll be a trigger. I've never had a headache like that. It'd be a migraine. Migraines are extremely intense. I've never had a migraine before. I've listened to people's experiences of migraine and it didn't seem to fit. Well, I think it's migraine. What we'll do is we'll put you on amitriptyline, which is, in small doses is to ward off migraines, and in bigger doses is an antidepressant. Okay, right, that sounds great. But not knowing what else to do at the time, I took them. Literally for 2 days I walked around like a zombie, practically slurring my speech. My mum she gave me a right rollicking down the phone, bless her cotton socks, she always says it how it is. And she said, you've got to get off those pills, you're like a zombie, you can't go on living like that, you've got to go back to the doctors, get a scan, blah, blah, you know. And she was right, but I bottled out of going back to the doctors. I just thought, sod it, I'm not going to take the pills. If it's stress, I'm going to do it my way. It was November. I'd always wanted to do a ski season, so I thought, what better? If it's the job that's stressing me out, I'll go and do a ski season. I sort of said, Michelle, if you really want to go, then do it. Yeah, get in, right, okay, cool. Turns out a mate was doing it as well, so it was even better. So got that all planned, got a great discount because it was last minute booking. Don't tell me mate because he doesn't know yet. And got set to go. Was still getting headaches, but not as bad. I remember New Year's was pretty that wasn't great. I was sat there and everyone was commenting how I was covering my eye up the whole time, blocking the light out. But anyway, I was going skiing 3 days later, so who cared? Off I went, off out skiing, and it was great. Loved every minute of the bit of the 10-week course that I was on. Still had the issue with the headaches at night, and I was popping a few codeine throughout. But I was finding what would happen, it was the headaches only came on when I was tired at the end of the day. So I thought, okay, maybe it is a stress-related thing. I'll just crack on. By the end of the week, the double vision, the double vision had been coming on later on in the day, and I was thinking, So the whole idea of stress again came up, and it was like, well, I've given up my job. Maybe it's giving up a job that's well paid with 6 weeks holiday in the middle of a financial crisis, then I'm subconsciously stressed about that. So I'd sort of play that one through my head. Oh, it's okay, I'll get a job when I get back, it won't be a problem. And so I just put that to the back of my head, and then by the end of the first week I actually had a day without double vision. I was going, get in, finally cracked it. And I remember just skiing my legs off that day. My mate, he's a few years older than me, he was 50 on that holiday. There were a bunch of 18-year-olds. We out-skied them totally. And at the end of the day we went off for extra practice, and I was on top of the world. Next day, alarm goes off, open my eyes. Double vision again. I was gutted. Sorry. Yeah, so I got on skiing. I thought, well, I'm here. I've paid for this. I'm going to ski anyway. And I'll tell you what, it's quite spooky skiing with double vision. You see two people you're following in front of you, you see multiple keep coming towards you, you don't know which ones to avoid, which ones are real. Skiing, I didn't get close to the edge, so that wasn't too clever. And of course depth perception was really weird, so if I was going down to troughs I had to be really close to someone so I could see when they came out of it. I tell you what, I skied the best I'd skied that whole holiday. You know, it shows a bit of awareness to care and technique, because I knew my technique had to be spot on. That's a lesson that will come up later on. I did really great the whole day. I got the best marks for our short turns because we were getting graded as we went along, and I was top of the group that day for that. On the way back we were on a green run. For those of you who know Courchevel 1850 at all, it was just on the green run coming into 1850. There's a few little bumpy bits off to the side. We were all in and out of those. Person in front of me got a little bit too far ahead. I couldn't tell how deep the troughs were. Boom. And it was a solid loud bump like that, hit my head on an ice bump. Don't know whether I was out or not, but it took a while to get up. Got back, more codeine, laid in bed. When I got up the next morning, the double vision was fixed, and it had never been fixed before. It was just fixed. So I stayed in bed that day, rest, it'll go away. Next morning, nah, still there. So I thought, right, straight to the doctors. Went to a French, dare I say it, Hicksville GP. It was a resort GP. Told him my story and what had happened. I told him everything from June about the double vision, the headaches and the so-called stress, and he said in very good English, I think you need to go to the hospital straight away. I understand what you tell me, but I would advise you to go now. Okay. Got back, Kev, my mate, had a car. We took Ed along and spoke fluent French up down to the hospital in Moutier. They were great, saw us straight away, had the scans done really quick. Unfortunately, I was chatting, I was busy with someone when he came to give me results first time round. If he'd done that, it would have been 2 hours. As it was another 3 hours to sit and wait for the results. When he finally came, he says, I have some bad news for you. You have a nodule in your head. I think the English call it tumour. You need to go home to England tomorrow. do not stay in this country, you need to go home. So, shit. It was like thoughts running through my head at that time. I think the first one was I knew something wasn't right. Second was I'm too young to die. And then just shit. But the people around me were really cool. Flights, minibus organised, Michelle organised an appointment with a surgery. So I was back, and by 5 o'clock the next day I was in front of the GP at home. Okay. Now bless her cotton socks, I get on quite well with her now. This is not the same GP who I'd seen beforehand. But her first reaction, she came, it was the end of a hard day for her, and I understand for those of you who work in the NHS, you've got a hard lot, and I know things aren't easy. She came to the door to the waiting room. Michael Paul, come on. So, right, okay, this is going to be good. Walked in, sat down. What can I do for you? Well, I have a scan here that the doctors in France tells them that I've got a tumour in my head. Oh shit. Oh right, okay. Right, okay. And then she sprung into life. Okay. Well, a little bit of life. We went through. She had a look at the scan. Right. She's not a radiologist, radiographer, or whatever, so couldn't read the scan that well. So she did some same neuro tests that the other doctor had done. Nothing happened, nothing came of it. But she said, okay, you've got this, okay, we need to do something. So what's going to happen? So, well, I'll fax this through for a referral. We should get a reply sometime by the end of next week. And then, yeah, maybe you'll get to see a consultant in 2 or 3 weeks after that. But Michelle just said, we're not leaving this office. The French doctor said to leave the country tomorrow. We're not leaving this office now until we see some action. So at this time I was wearing an eye patch, and she hadn't actually taken that off. While she'd done other neuro tests, she hadn't taken my eye patch off, and unbeknownst to me, my eye had gone wonky. And show you that there. So you can see that eye there. That's not me trying to do that. And that had happened in the time I'd flown back from France. And when she looked at that, she said, I always do that. And do what? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, look off to the side like that. Nah, never done that. So that was the first time she was like, okay, this could be serious. She phoned the on-call neuro consultant. They got me an appointment next day. They were very good to see me. Couldn't arrange another scan, said I needed a scan, but couldn't get one for another 4 days. No need to stay in, go home. But if you need admitting, if anything gets bad, come in. That night my head exploded, into A&E. I think this was a Friday night, so if any of you have ever been in A&E on a Friday night, can you imagine what fun that was? 5 hours of reliving some of my student days, but not really in the mood for it. Got in, seen by a lovely junior doctor, put me on morphine. I know why people get addicted to that stuff. I'll tell you, it was like 1, 2, 3, buff, pain gone. Hey man, this is cool, I could stay here for a while. Cool, great. Yeah, you can have as much morphine as you want, just to keep the pain at bay. So from then on I got admitted to neurology. I'll not go through all the biopsy stuff and everything. It took quite a while. There was a little bit of confusion and miscommunication going on, a couple of different diagnoses being thrown at me from different places. But then when I've actually read the pathology reports, they didn't have a clue either from the sound of it. I think there were 5 different types of cancer mentioned within 2 primary reports done by the Freeman and another one that we asked for a second opinion for. So to be fair on the doctors, they didn't have a clue either. So I went up. My approach to all of this was I need to know everything about it. Okay, I know some people look at it differently. They say, well, listen to the doctors, we'll take their opinion. My approach was totally different. I was on the internet straight away. I found a website called the National Cancer Institute, which is an American website run by the government. Basically keeps up-to-date details of all the latest treatments for every cancer known to man, practically, and what the latest treatments are. I walked into the office, my oncology consultant came, had Michelle and Mum there. Oncology consultant comes in, walks around tonight, you know you can still drink. As he whispered in my ear. All right, okay, that's not the first thing I was thinking about, but hey ho, good to know. And we sat down and he started talking. I said, look, I've got a list of questions here, and I had, I think, 2 A4 sides of questions. And he said, okay, all right, let me just read through those and I'll go through them. And he did, and he said, all right, you've got the NCI guidelines for this, can I have a look? And I handed him over and he had a look through. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, that's essentially what we were going to give you. So I was actually very fortunate in that sense that we have just had a big shake-up in the early years of 2000. Sarcoma, which is a very exceedingly rare cancer. 1% of all cancers are sarcomas, but then there's multiple divisions below that. They decided that they needed specialist sarcoma units around the country, okay, rather than being treated in local general hospitals and stuff like that. And I was lucky one was on my doorstep. So for that I am truly grateful. So we sat there. I wanted a second opinion. My consultant wanted to just get on with treatment, and I was like, well, you don't know what it is. I want a second opinion. Well, it's either this or that, same treatment. Okay, fair enough. All right, book me in. Went through all the scans. Great. Quite liked the adventure of seeing all the different machines and this, that and the other, getting in MRI scanners, bone scanners, having my hearing test done and all that. So there's loads that you have to go through. I will say, for anyone who is unfortunate enough to have to ever go through any of this, for your first chemo treatment, take some reading material, because they sit you down, they take a blood test and then they go away and don't tell you whether you're getting your chemo or not. Well, they did when I was there. This is what happened. I sat down and disappeared. Oh, the blood tests have gone off. We just need to check your white blood cell count and a few other things. Okay, how long's that going to be? Oh, I don't know, be back soon. 6 hours later. So it's a lot of time to spend with things to chew on, so take a book. Chemo started. Second day, food comes in. I could just smell the trolleys coming up the corridor. 2 minutes later, I was in the bathroom throwing up. And I thought they'd sorted all this sickness stuff out, you know, you get all this sickness medication and everything. Anyway, I had to wait until all the food had gone out, to wait till people had eaten and got rid of their food. I talked to my nurse about it. She checked the medication logs. I hadn't been given my anti-sickness medication. Okay, so another pointer, don't assume they'll get it right. Okay, these people are busy, they get interrupted. I could tell with my head sister at the time, I would ask her a question in the ward, and by the time she got to the door, someone else had approached her, and I knew what I'd asked her had gone out of her head. If you are ever in that situation, or you're with people and you can help out, make sure you keep on their backs in a nice way. There were some people there who got on the nurses' backs in a horrible way, and that's no way to do it either. Anyway, the anti-sickness medication, they then gave it to me, but it was too late. Doesn't help when it's already started happening. But I got my revenge, because after having had a yogurt in the TV room, which was behind the nurse's reception, I got a violent urge and didn't make it past the nurse's station. So, unfortunately for them, it wasn't deliberate, but they ended up cleaning up that mess. Communications with the consultants during this time, not great. There's a Macmillan nurse who came round. and I remember mine very well because she reminds me of a famous film star. I'm not going to give out names of the staff because I don't think it's fair, but she was lovely. But communication still between the Macmillan nurses and the doctors were weird, because Macmillan nurses were able to prescribe pain medication, but it then had to go back to the doctor to get written up. Well, that didn't always happen. So the nurses who weren't Macmillan nurses come round giving out the medication, knew nothing about it. They then couldn't do anything until they'd spoken to a junior doctor or the Macmillan nurse, so it'd be another day before anything could happen. So I'm hoping some of these things have been ironed out. I was quite vociferous about it at the time, as you can probably guess, you start imagining. But on the whole, I got on great with the nurses. The pain went, double vision seemed to be getting better. Chemotherapy, nasty stuff. Okay, its origins, as the Macmillan nurse kindly told me, was mustard gas in World War I. Okay, so it was developed from chemical warfare. That'll tell you something about what this stuff is capable of doing. I'd gone in there saying to the doctors, I want as much of this stuff as I can have. And for my tumour, that's literally what they had to do anyway. It was give him everything he's got, shock and awe, and if Tommy tumour's still standing at the end of it, well, we can do palliative care for you. So I literally had to try and take everything anyway. This stage I was fully on board with taking chemo and having radiotherapy and surgery and everything else.